Hi, this is the Black Bear Prepper, and today I wanted to show you kind of a DIY project for scouting or just for fun at home. It's a great experiment, and it's also fun to build and useful and cheap. All my favorite things. So today we're going to be building alcohol soda can stoves. I actually like these better than the ones you can buy in the store. So it is all made out of one can. You do need a Leatherman tool, and we'll explain why in a second. A thumbtack, just your standard thumbtack here. And a pair of scissors that you don't mind cutting through things that are not paper. Let's put it that way. So let's kind of get started here. It ends up, we cut the can into 3 sections, and we go from there. So this is what we hope to have here in just a couple seconds. So the first thing we want to do is you got to go looking around for an old VHS tape and a DVD case. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by flipping the can over, and we're going to take our knife, the blade off of our knife. We want it as flat to the top of the DVD case as we can, and we're going to trace that blade all the way around about 3 times, just so we have a trace all the way around. Once we've done that, we're going to take the DVD off, and we're going to flip it over, and we're going to trace all the way around 3 times with just the VHS tape. That gets us a score mark on the top and the bottom. Before we cut those out, we want to cut out our top here, and we want to put our holes all the way around the side. Now for the top section, we put our blade away, of course, and we use, this works better than all the other tools out there, is the Leatherman can opener. We're going to put it in the top here, and we're going to scroll it around. And we're just going to bring it around all the way around here. And we're just going to take the top completely out. Now these Sprite cans seem to work the best, or Sprite type, same type products, same branded products. We drink a lot of lemon lime here, so I just happen to have cheap lemon lime cans from, the Refresh brand from Safeway. They seem to work just fine. We want to make sure we're cutting out the lip. Now if you don't want it to be real jagged like this, you can use an X-Acto knife and just keep carving around until you finally work your way through it. Then you're going to want to take your thumbtack. You can take a drill bit or the tip of your knife. I've done the whole entire job with just the Leatherman tool, and it doesn't have to be perfect. We want it kind of closer to this little ring around the bottom here. And we're just going to do them roughly 1/8 to 1/4 inch apart. I've done really close together, I've done really far away, I've done big holes, little holes. It all seems to work about the same. So once we've done that, we need to make sure we put our thumbtack away here. We're going to get back out our blade. This is the hard part, and it is sharp, so if you're working with younger kids, the issue is, what you really want to do is just kind of push and get it started, and a lot of times if you've done it right, it will almost tear along the line. So if you've done it where you've got it good enough, which this one's, and you'll have spots that will get kind of sticky, but hopefully it's almost going to tear right along that line you've just made. And if you've done it really good and you've gone around the 3 times like we've told you to do, a lot of times it comes off just like that, nice and clean, perfectly around, all the way around the outside. So that's our first piece. Now the bottom one I had a harder time with, so I'm assuming I'm going to have a harder time cutting it out. And it's almost like I said, you're just pushing on it. And you end up with your 3 pieces of your can. Now, what we want to do with this guy is we want to cut this center one straight down. Doesn't matter any spot you want to do it, and we want to cut it down to about 2 inches. So it will change on the brand of can and things like this, but it happens to work pretty well most of the time. If we cut it down to 2 inches, it just happens to be the refresh sign on this particular can is what works best. We're also going to cut, this guy ends up being pushed into the top here, and it's just held in place. But we want to cut, once we've got it, I can hold it in place here, and I want to cut some little lines. And these are going to be for the fuel to be able to get into the burn chamber, or the pressurizing chamber here. And I just fold them right up inside. So you end up with a little bit, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but I've just cut a little square out of the bottom there. And then I'll take this guy, and I just cut 2 little slits to hold it in place. About 3/4 of the way, and that allows it to lock into place, just like that. Now on the bottom here, you can do it a couple different ways. You can take the tip of your knife, we want to leave about 1/4 inch on the bottom untouched. We can tweak it just like this. If you have an old set of air conditioning crimpers, you can crimp it with the air conditioning crimpers. I like this a little better because it seems to work a little faster. You got to be careful because you'll cut holes right through the can if you're not careful. Not that it ruins your item, but it doesn't work as well. And you just want to go around, and like I said, this is, you know, if you got a friend that's an air conditioner, he's probably got an old set of these. They basically crimp it, so it crimps all the way around like that. You're going to take your lid with the cutouts on the bottom. You're going to put it into your top here and make sure it goes into that ring. There's going to be a ring that's going to be formed on top. You take your bottom, and now that you've kind of crimped it, might have to, sometimes it's a little easier if you have another can. You can just open it up a little bit, and that makes it go on a little better. Don't push too hard because we don't want to rip it. If you push too hard, a lot of times you'll rip the whole side of the can out, and then it doesn't work at all. And just kind of work it around until you've got all the areas inside the can here. I might have to crimp this one just a little more. And like I said, there's no right or wrong on these guys. They're real simple. The kids love building them. I've made them for kids all the way down to about 10 years old. So in that age group, it seems to work just fine. They seem to do okay. You might want to do the cutting yourself and then give it over to them after you've done the cutting. Let's see if we can get it in now. There we go. Now we need to make sure it stays in that little rim above the top. And we take our plier tool here and we just tap it down, not too hard, just to get this set so it won't pop back apart. Once we've done that, it is all ready to burn. So we're going to set here. I'll show you guys how this works. So the one problem you have with alcohol is it's very hard to see it burn. So this is antifreeze for gas lines. It's alcohol. Octane booster works, denatured alcohol, brake line defroster, all of it's just high grade alcohol. I like these better because one, I get these at the dollar store for $1. And two, it doesn't stink like denatured alcohol. Denatured alcohol works just fine. If you want to use denatured alcohol, that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to fill up just about 1/2 inch in the bottom. The more you put in, the longer it lasts. It's just that simple. So, because we don't want this one to last forever, we're going to go ahead and get this guy lit. Now once it gets going, we need to wait for just a second for it to start kind of pressurizing, and you'll hear the outside here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the lights. Now you're hearing a little crickling, cracking, and I don't know if you guys can start to see the blue flame yet. But you should start to be able to see the flames coming out of the bottom here all the way around. That's actually pressurizing. What it's doing is it's boiling the fuel around the outside and causing the fuel to raise up in there. Now if you have an old pie plate or something like that, it's always a good idea to take these if you're going to use them out in the woods. Use an old pan because it does tend to put a little soot on there. Now to make them really efficient, what you do is just put these guys right on top. And if you look on the bottom, the flames hitting the bottom of the pan, these are much slower than your standard stoves. This will burn at a rate of about somewhere in the area of 10 minutes to a liter of water. So not as efficient as your other stoves out there, not as quick. I think they're just as efficient as your standard stoves. And they'll just burn like that until they burn out. Now, you're going to have to keep in mind, it runs until it runs out. So there's no difference in the, you can't turn it up or down. It's just for boiling water, but I've done everything from putting hot dogs or boiling meat for doing tacos, whatever it is, you can usually boil most things you're going to do. You can boil eggs, and it allows you to be able to cook. I've had friends take these all the way up into high elevation, cold weather out in the snow. They work great, and they're free. And as you can hear, my niece is in the background, and I think she's getting a little done with me taking up all the time of the family. So we're about done here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to like us at the bottom, and feel free to share us and leave comments, please. That's how we know what to do. So, as always, see you next time.